Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. And one of our projects is the Catholic Church in America. And it's the newsletters and this YouTube channel and the entire project associated with it. The reason we have a Catholic Church in America project is because we are dealing with issues that cannot be resolved from within the Catholic Church. We including the sexual abuse by the priests and the acts of terrorism as a result of the Crusades. Recently, Pope Francis was in the hospital, and there in a previous video he talked about the Saint Malachi and the prophecies and of the last pope and the beginning pope, so of the new cycle. And Pope Francis is the first pope of the new cycle, based on the idea of that everything moves in cycles, and this is a 2,000-year cycle that has ended and a new one is beginning. And change only happens easily at the beginning or the end of a cycle. So what's happening now is that Pope Francis is dealing with the principles, you could say, of the early Christian church. The same ideas were going in and replaying those new issues. It's the idea of looking, by taking the Catholic Church to the next level. Pope Francis is setting the principles for the next 2,000 years, and he and the other pope. There's always two popes at the beginning or the end of a cycle. And now what Pope Francis is doing is he and the other pope are dealing with these issues, and we're starting to understand the same issues that occurred when Jesus of Nazareth and Simon Peter were the first two popes of the last one. So we're now kind of looking at a new era, taking it to the next level, and coming up with these new ideas about Christianity that are actually like replaying it from before. So our organization, my organization, you could say, is the founding ideas are, we're the prophets. We are the psychics, the prophets, like the old time, 2,000 years ago at the beginning of the last cycle. And now we are, the one pope is the one to set the principles, and the other one is the application of the principles. So that's what Jesus and Peter did to start as the rock of the new church. Okay, so now this is what we're going to do. The Catholic Church in America is going to be focusing on this other perspective of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis is going to be still setting up the principles of it, but we're not part of the Catholic Church, but we are assuming responsibility for it. We are not, we're not like a prefecture of the Catholic Church. We are separate, but we are basically supporting that idea, doing the things that they can't do, and therefore we are starting to look at the principles of Christianity that were taught by the first cycle by Jesus and Peter, and now we're going to be working for and coming up with even our books are even can be considered the new Bible. The last cycle, you could say, was based on the idea that you create your own life and what you believe is what is, and now we're going to be looking at the same idea about how to create your life. We're going to be looking at Pope Francis has talked about unifying the religions and looking at all the religions and bringing them together, and that's what we're going to be doing is bringing together all the religions with this idea of that God went to each of the different spiritual teachers. I call them avatars. And as they each one were the chosen religion at the time, their culture was open to listening. And now what we are going to do is we are going to bring them all together, and with the planning process, we are going to look at this idea of helping people, teaching people the principles of how to create the life you want. Jesus taught the principles of creativity. And because of that, we're going to drill down onto the principles of creativity, and we're going to look at what those principles actually are. And then when the clerics who, as this goes forward, we're going to be starting a new church idea, a new idea that where all of them are taught in a single building and creating a sense of unity out of it. So that's pretty much what's happening. Now, the problem with creativity, one of the problems is crucifixion. The idea of crucifixion has to do with the idea of coming up with something new. And this is what Jesus went through, and Peter, both were basically crucified, you could say. They were crucified, but it isn't necessarily the way we always understand it to be from this perspective now. So we're looking now back at history, like we have a tunnel back into the past where we can see the past, but we can also see where the future is going. We're at like this crossroads for the past and looking at the future at the same time. So Pope Francis has talked about the idea of bringing the religions together, and now, but there are people who are looking at the past and saying our tradition doesn't include that idea. It says Jesus is the only way that we get there, and they're looking at it and they're saying, no, we don't like this. This is not tradition. This is not how we've done it. And so now, as somebody comes up with a new idea, then that is one of the principles of Christianity, is coming up with an idea that creativity, coming up with an idea that nobody has ever imagined before. And then what happens is, as you go through, you start running into problems with the naysayers, and it isn't until you can go through all this idea, and the Christians are crucified because we are the ones who come up with a new idea. I watched a video not too long ago. It came out, well, it's called, that is very good at explaining an idea between how Christians and Muslims function based on the teachings. And if you're interested in ever watching the movie, it's called Salmon Fishing on the Yemen. And it's about a man and a woman, and they're basically coming from Great Britain and Scotland, and they've been hired by a Muslim to come up with a plan for him. He has a problem, and he would like these Christians to help him. So it explains kind of how Christians and Muslims can work together to unify, to come up with a plan. If you want to watch that movie, it'll give you an idea how this can work together, and how they work and how they don't work, and how each of them has a different perspective on this idea. And it even talks a little bit about crucifixion too, not on a cross, but the idea of coming up, the resistance to the idea. Okay, so Pope Francis was recently in the hospital with double pneumonia. The lungs have to do, talking about crucifixion, the reason a crucifixion is a sign of it, and it's a sign of the cross, is because when you come up with something new, the crucifixion is when you're put on the cross. You could say the idea of it is it goes right through the heart level. This level here has to do with the chakras, And the heart chakra has to do with having the people working together that you need to your flower of life idea, and how it works together, the people you need to help you get your life. So what we are going to do with Catholic Church in America, this project, is we are going to work with Pope Francis. He's going to be working from his perspective, and we're going to be working from our perspective in Catholic Church of America to deal with the things that he can't do. I have a cat that has adopted me. Excuse me. We're going to be working as the prophets, and we're going to be looking at this new perspective of the Catholic Church and the idea of crucifixion, because what has happened is, as he's coming out with these new ideas about family as a Jesuit, he's looking at people's lives, he's looking at the people, but he doesn't, it's like the things that he's saying don't resonate well with the existing structure of the church, and it almost seems like it's starting to schism, to break apart, and they're calling him whatever. So the resistance that he's facing, you could say, is crucifixion, and it's playing out in his lungs. That is something that when he's healed, he said, when we deal with this idea of the issue of the Catholic Church teaching the principles of coming up with an idea, creativity, the resistance to the plan, and then finding the balance point between them that allows everybody to understand. People will be going to the schools. We're going to be building you could say, building a school, a university, a college would be better, where each of the classes, each of the teachers from each of the religions is going to be teaching the principles of it. I'm teaching the principles of creativity. This cat is, she's a blessing to me, but she's also kind of always in the way. She likes to sit right in front of me when I'm working. She wants me to pay attention to her, so I'm going to make this short. But that's where we are now, is we're going to be looking at the things that the Catholic Church cannot address from inside the Catholic Church, the principles of creativity, and we're going to be looking at the miracles associated with doing how the miracles and universal law, God's law, and how to apply that, and why revenge works and why it doesn't work. We're going to look at all of these different things in the Catholic Church. Pope Francis has had a lot of resistance, but now so many people have prayed for him for his healing, but maybe part of those prayers, the answers to the prayers, was that now it's time for us to stand up and help him deal with the issues that cannot be resolved from within the Catholic Church. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, and we're going to address these principles, and we're going to learning how to create the life we want, and we're going to take Pope Francis's ideas to the next level. We're going to actually start to apply these principles within that he's looking at, and we're going to apply them in our life. You could say that even the cat is the idea of the battle between light and darkness, and we're looking at light and the definition of light. Light is a creative substance that when you put a thought form into it, creates matter. And when you're reacting out of fear, that's what causes pandemics, viruses to come about. So we're looking at the battle between light and darkness, good and evil, and what is evil and what is not evil, and how to define all these different things. The Catholic Church creativity, creating the life you've always wanted, applying the gifts you got from God and your unalienable rights. These are all the things we're going to talk about now in the Catholic Church in America. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. If you're willing to, if you like what we're doing here with the Catholic Church in America, please like, share, and subscribe, and share it with other people, because this is going to be part of the world peace movement. So thank you. Thank you for stopping by.